We're now joined by Sherman Dahl, President and Director of SKRR. This company focuses its efforts on the underexplored Trans-Hudson Corridor in Saskatchewan, Canada. Earlier this year, the company closed the acquisition of 100% of the Watts Lake Zinc claim, which consists of 24 mineral claims, nearly 14,000 hectares, with rare high-grade intercepts. Sherman, pleasure to have you.
Well, thanks so much for having us here, SKRR, based out of Vancouver, but with our majority of our portfolio, which is in Saskatchewan, Trans-Hudson Corridor. Happy to be joining.
Great.
And talking about zinc.
Absolutely. And within your portfolio of projects, you have obviously Watts Lake, which has significant VMS targets. What is the potential that you see there?
Well, Watts Lake was originally staked and explored by Ross McElroy, and the SKRR, of course, is SK for Saskatchewan. One of the R's is Ross McElroy, and the other one is Ron Nedolinsky. So it was really the bringing together the geological brilliance of Ross McElroy, who's an award-winning discovery geologist, very well known in the uranium sector, but also in gold and zinc in Saskatchewan. And then, of course, Ross McElroy, who's discovered 4 gold mines, which I think is 4 more than most of them. So it really was Ross and Ron that did the initial work of bringing Watts Lake to SKRR. And so SKRR, as you highlighted, is a significant zinc VMS target with already a resource. Now the resource is not 43-101, but we're pretty excited about the whole Watts Lake package. I think I forgot your original question. Maybe just re-say the question again.
What is the potential that you see overall on the
right.
project?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so the potential overall, I mean, it's a very large package. It's got a strike zone of over 4.5 kilometers. With clearly some highlights from the 2019 drilling on the main zone, intersected like 13.5 meters of 7.8% zinc lead, 13.2 grams per ton of silver, and including 27 meters of 4.84% zinc. So, this has the real potential to host a major near surface, large high grade zinc, lead, silver VMS. Which is well known to exist in the Saskatchewan Trans-Hudson Corridor, which of course is home to the massive Flin Flon ore body, which was a copper rich deposit, which also was host to about 5 to 6 million ounces of gold. So the whole Trans-Hudson Corridor, going from the home stake deposits of 40-50 million ounces, extends all the way up into the CB Santoy deposits and the Flin Flon ore body, and then hooks over into the very well-known Snow Lake deposits in Manitoba. So, finding a world-class VMS deposit is very much in the potential of Watts Lake.
Great. And what is infrastructure access like at Watts Lake?
Well, infrastructure all throughout Saskatchewan is world class. I mean, Saskatchewan continues to get ranked in the top 5 in the world as mining jurisdictions. So Watts Lake is right in the heart of it. I mean, we're only about 65 kilometers northeast of the town of La Ronge and about 20 kilometers northwest of Missinippi. And Missinippi, I mean, there's a provincial highway 102 runs 12 kilometers from the property. There's power, there's water, the infrastructure is very, very favorable because it's, the whole province, especially in northern Saskatchewan, as you head up from Saskatoon is nothing but, mining and large deposits. Flin Flon, which some of your listeners may be encouraged to know, I think it was the second largest infrastructure program in the world next to the Panama Canal when it was originally discovered. So not to mention the Athabasca Basin, which is really an offshoot of the Trans-Hudson Corridor. Also potash, copper, zinc. Foran is very active in the area. So the infrastructure is world-class.
Great. Now, shifting a bit to the west, you also recently acquired a nickel project in British Columbia. Can you tell us more about the prospects there and what appealed to you about that project?
Sure. Yeah, we're just early days in terms of getting some exploration plans in place. I mean, that whole Nickel Peak area has been explored by other exploration companies. We're pretty new to that area. We brought in a group that had originally staked that. We vended it in for really low valuation. I mean, obviously our new partners are now shareholders of SKRR. So it's really early days, but it's a pretty well known district within inside of British Columbia for nickel prospects.
Great. And obviously it's early days, but when might you expect to drill at Nickel Peak?
Well, we don't have any imminent plans. We want to get onto the ground and do some preliminary groundwork. Really, the drilling activity is really going to depend on economics. I mean, we're going to need to raise more capital. We are sitting on over $1 million in cash, but we're being very careful about how we spend that money until the markets kind of improve. One of the things that we are looking for a couple of our nickel projects, our Father Lake nickel project in Saskatchewan, where Rio Tinto is active, and in addition to our Watts Lake, our zinc property. This would be the same for the Nickel Peak group. It's also a world-class jurisdiction, evidenced by the Dakar project by FPX Nickel Corp is just to the south of us. We're really looking for strategic partners and potential JVs. That is kind of a focus of SKRR at this point, and that will really dictate how soon we can get in and start drilling. But I think it would be early to be going into to start drilling at Nickel Peak this year. So to be determined at this point, given how new the Nickel Peak assets are to the company.
Sure. Looking at jurisdictions, how does working in British Columbia compare to Saskatchewan?
Well, I posed that question to Ross McElroy, our chairman, and also very active globally, not only in Saskatchewan, but and he's got experience all over the world. And his comments are quite simply that both provinces are very well recognized as and established exploration mining jurisdictions. And they do have a long history of successful relationships between the industry, including the local Indigenous communities and the government. So, Saskatchewan in particular is generally recognized as one of the top mining jurisdictions. All of our properties are in mining areas, and that's certainly the case in British Columbia, and it's certainly the case in Saskatchewan. So, I would put them both on par. With maybe certainly a lot more, especially Saskatchewan. But I think both BC and Saskatchewan are both recognized globally as great places for mining.
Great. And do you have agreements and positive relations with First Nations and other local stakeholders?
Well, again, I'm fortunate to be able to lean on the experience of Ross McElroy when it comes to this. Ross has spent an enormous part of his career, and I've always been really impressed on how much time he does spend with the First Nations. There are no formal agreements with First Nations, and none that are required at this time because of the early stage exploration. But SKR maintains a very strong relationship with all of our nearby Indigenous communities. And this is really easy because it just comes second nature for Ross. He's in Saskatchewan on a regular basis with his role as the CEO of Fission Uranium. And this includes everything from Indigenous communities to local Indigenous hunters and trappers. And so all of our drilling, and we've done a lot, 3 drill programs at the Olsen Gold property. And so we're well established and well known, but no formal agreements that are required at this point.
And finally, you also have gold projects in Saskatchewan, where you've completed some drilling last year and earlier this year. What were the results like, and which targets have emerged to have the greatest potential?
Well, we continue to really point at our flagship project one being the Olsen property. We've had 3 very successful drill campaigns at Olsen since 2019. And in 2021, we also tacked on a very successful drill program at our Manson Bay property, which is a very interesting sort of gold-enriched VMS deposit. Again, a deposit that's already formed, but not 43101. And drilling on both these properties have encountered significant high-grade mineralization that can be easily, kind of looked at on our website. And both are very deserving of significant follow-up drill programs. But the Saskatchewan Trans-Hudson Corridor, as evidenced by CB Santoy and also by the Homestake deposits, continues to impress not only us, but the whole world in terms of the high-grade nature of the gold in Saskatchewan.
Great. Sherman, thank you very much for joining us today. Excited to see what the company has in store for the remainder of the year.
Well, again, thanks, Tim. Really enjoyed being part of this conference, and I guess we'll see you in Toronto in November.
Sounds great.